Have you ever felt unsure about what someone really means when they talk to you, or found yourself wishing you could connect with people more easily, understand them better, and respond in a way that feels right? This is exactly what social intelligence is about, knowing how to read people clearly and how to respond in a way that builds trust, respect, and real connection. It's a skill anyone can learn, and it changes the way you experience relationships every day. In this video, we'll dive deep into how you can master this skill step by step. You'll discover how to listen beyond words, pick up on hidden emotions through body language, and ask questions that make people feel truly heard. You'll learn how staying calm under pressure keeps you in control, how to read social cues so you never feel lost in a conversation, and how speaking with clear purpose helps you influence others with honesty and confidence. We'll also explore how setting boundaries protects your peace and why empathy is the key to genuine connections. Finally, you'll see how a simple daily habit, reflecting on your social interactions, can speed up your growth and help you navigate every situation with ease. This isn't just theory. These are practical, easy-to-follow steps that anyone can apply right now. If you want to feel more confident in your conversations, build stronger relationships, and create a life filled with deeper connections, this video is for you. Stick around, and let's start building your social intelligence together, one simple skill at a time. Chapter 1. Master eye contact to build instant human connection. The first thing people notice about you isn't your words, it's not your handshake, it's not even your posture, it's your eyes. Before you say anything, your eyes already speak. Before someone trusts you, they look for safety in your gaze. Before a connection can begin, your presence must be seen through your eyes. Eye contact is not a trick or a tactic. It is a deeply human signal that says, I see you, I'm here. You matter. Most people underestimate how powerful this is. They look at others, but they don't truly see them. They glance, they dart their eyes, they avoid stillness. But the human soul is drawn to presence, and presence begins in the eyes. Social intelligence starts with mastering your presence, and your presence begins with eye contact. If you can't hold someone's gaze, you're not really showing up. And if you don't show up fully, people feel it immediately. You can't fake eye contact. You either offer attention or you don't. You're either connected or you're distant. And in today's world of distractions, real attention has become rare. That's exactly why it is so powerful. The rarest currency in any conversation is undivided attention. When you give that to someone, they notice, they lean in, they trust you. And over time, they remember you. To master eye contact, you must first understand why you may avoid it. Most people don't avoid eye contact because they're rude. They avoid it because it makes them feel exposed. Holding someone's gaze can feel vulnerable, almost as if they're seeing inside you. That discomfort is exactly what makes it powerful. If you want to connect deeply with people, you must be willing to be seen. That doesn't mean you need to overshare or pretend. It simply means you must stand in your presence without flinching. You must meet others eye to eye and let your stillness speak. Eye contact isn't about staring. It's not about dominance. It's not about control. It's about connection. When you meet someone's gaze with calm, grounded energy, you are giving them a signal. I am safe. I am aware. I am present. That signal opens doors faster than any clever line or smile. People are tired of fast talk. They crave real connection. When you look someone in the eye with calm, honest attention, you offer them what the world rarely gives, presence without agenda. It begins with self-awareness. Notice how you use your eyes when you speak to someone. Do you look away when they speak? Do you scan the room, check your phone, or look at the floor? These little actions send powerful messages, even when unintentional. When someone is speaking and you look away, they feel it. When you don't meet their eyes as they talk, they feel less important. And when your gaze jumps around as you speak, it creates anxiety and tension in the other person. People mirror what they receive. If you offer calm, steady attention, people become calm and steady with you. If you offer anxious, distracted energy, people feel unsettled. Mastering eye contact means training yourself to be fully present in every interaction. That takes practice. Start small. When you speak with someone, try to hold their gaze a little longer than usual. Don't force it. Don't stare. Just be still. Breathe slowly. Pay attention to what they're saying. Allow yourself to care. Most people don't need solutions. They don't need advice. They just need to be seen and heard. Eye contact is how you begin that process. This is not just about confidence. It's about respect. When you give someone your full gaze, you're saying, "You are worth my time." That's rare. Most people only give half their attention because they are waiting for their turn to speak. They listen with impatience, but someone who can truly listen with their eyes becomes unforgettable. They don't need to dominate a room. They don't need to impress others. Their quiet focus makes people feel safe, and that is a rare gift. In every conversation, there is a window of opportunity. It's the moment when someone is deciding whether they can trust you. That moment is often silent. No words are spoken, but eye contact fills that silence. It becomes a bridge, and if you hold it with steady presence, the bridge becomes strong. If you break it with nervousness or avoidance, the bridge weakens. Social intelligence means being able to hold that moment, to meet someone where they are, to be with them, even if only for a few seconds, without retreating into yourself. Of course, eye contact must be adapted to the context. In some cultures, prolonged eye contact can be seen as aggressive or disrespectful. In others, it is expected. The key is to be sensitive, not robotic. Use your emotional awareness. Feel the energy of the moment. The goal is not to apply one rigid rule to everyone. The goal is to be more attuned, and attunement begins with curiosity. When you look into someone's eyes with real curiosity, not judgment or agenda, you start to feel what they're feeling. You begin to pick up on their emotional state. That's the essence of social intelligence. This awareness gives you power, not the power to control, but the power to connect. You will start to notice things others miss. The slight change in someone's expression, the hesitation behind their words, the spark of interest in their eyes, the flash of doubt. These tiny signals are everything, and they begin with your eyes being open, not just physically but emotionally. If you want to build deeper connections in your life, at work, in your relationships, in your family, it starts with learning how to see people, not to judge them, not to label them, but to see them as they are, without rushing, without performance, just with presence. You can practice this every day, with a stranger, with your partner, with your child, with your colleague. Before speaking, pause, look them in the eyes, allow yourself to notice their humanity, then speak. It changes everything. In moments of conflict, eye contact becomes even more important. When emotions are high, people often look away. They avoid eye contact to protect themselves. But if you can hold someone's gaze with calmness in that moment, you become the anchor. You lower the tension without words. You remind them, we are both human. We can handle this. That kind of strength is rare, and it's built through practice, not personality. You don't have to be extroverted or charismatic. You just have to be present. There are times when eye contact alone can heal. When someone is hurting and you don't know what to say, your presence is enough. Your eyes can say, I'm with you, I'm not going anywhere. That simple act can break through loneliness, fear, and sadness. Not through fixing, but through witnessing. Social intelligence is not about having all the answers. It's about learning how to be there without flinching. To train this, you must get comfortable with stillness. Sit in silence with yourself. Look in the mirror, hold your own gaze. If you can't look at yourself with compassion and calm, it's hard to offer that to others. The way you see yourself affects how you see others. If you judge yourself harshly, you will be more judgmental. If you are kind to yourself, your gaze will soften, your presence will change, and people will feel that. In social situations, eye contact becomes your compass. When to speak, when to pause, when to listen, when to step forward, when to step back. You don't need to overthink it, you just need to observe. Eye contact tells you when someone is engaged or drifting. It tells you when someone is open or guarded. And it gives you constant feedback, but only if you're paying attention. Most people miss this. They are lost in their thoughts, rehearsing their next words, stuck in self-doubt. You must be different. You must return to the moment, again and again, until presence becomes your default. When you walk into a room, let your eyes arrive first, not in a searching or aggressive way, but in a calm and grounded way. Look at people, nod, greet them, hold their gaze for one more second than you usually would. That extra second matters. It signals confidence. It invites connection. It builds trust. And it tells the world you are here, not hiding, not performing, just here. This skill will serve you for life. In interviews, in negotiations, in partnerships, in parenting, in love. People won't always remember your words, but they will remember how you looked at them, whether you saw them, whether you respected them, whether you truly met them in the moment. That is what lasts. That is what creates bonds that matter. And the most beautiful part is this. Anyone can learn it. You don't need to be born with charm. You don't need perfect words. You just need the courage to be seen. The courage to show up. The courage to hold someone's gaze and say, I'm not afraid of this moment. I'm here for it. That strength is rare, but it is within you. Practice it every day. Don't wait for perfect moments. Use the grocery store, the elevator, the dinner table, the office hallway. Every moment is an opportunity to see and be seen. Over time, this simple practice will change how people respond to you. They will feel your presence. They will open up. They will remember you. And you will begin to live from a deeper place, not because you learned a trick, but because you chose to show up fully. This is the art of eye contact. It is not about power. It is about presence. It is not about performance. It is about connection. Master this one habit, and you will begin to unlock every other part of social intelligence. Because when people feel seen, they feel safe. And when they feel safe, everything begins to change. Chapter 2. Listen deeply to understand people beyond their words. Most people hear, but few actually listen. There is a difference. Hearing is passive. It happens without effort. But listening, real listening, is active. It's deliberate. It requires full attention, humility, and patience. To understand someone beyond their words, you have to stop rushing to respond. You have to quiet the noise in your own head. You have to stop analyzing and start absorbing. You must train yourself to stop assuming and start noticing what people truly mean, not just what they say. People often speak in incomplete truths, not because they're dishonest, but because they don't always have the words for what they're feeling. Their tone, their pauses, their hesitations, those are part of their message too. If you're only focused on the words, you miss the truth. A person's true meaning is often buried beneath their surface expression. If you rush to speak, you miss it. If you think you already know what they mean, you close the door to discovery. The skill of deep listening begins by letting go of the need to be right, letting go of the need to interrupt, letting go of the impulse to fix, to judge, or to shift the conversation toward yourself. Listening is not a sign of passivity. It is a mark of emotional discipline. When you listen deeply, you are making a decision to understand someone else's world without trying to reshape it in your own image. That takes strength. Most people are so focused on proving themselves, they forget that real power lies in understanding. The person who listens well often has more influence than the one who speaks well, because being understood is one of the deepest human desires. When people feel understood, they open up, they let their guard down. They begin to trust, and from trust, everything else becomes possible. Collaboration, respect, growth. Deep listening is about being fully present, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. It's about tuning into another person without drifting into your own story. That means not preparing your reply while they're talking, not judging their experiences through the lens of your own, not interrupting their silence because it makes you uncomfortable. Silence is not an absence. It's part of the communication. When someone pauses, they are often still processing what they feel. If you rush in, you steal that space from them. When you listen deeply, you allow people the space to understand themselves better just by speaking to you. You don't need to solve people's problems to support them. You need to witness them, to listen with such depth and sincerity that they feel validated, not corrected. Most people aren't looking for answers. They're looking for someone who won't look away from their pain or joy. Someone who won't try to fix or minimize what they're going through. When you listen with that kind of presence, you give them something most of the world never does: full attention without judgment. This is rare because most people have never been trained to listen this way. From a young age, we are taught to speak, to present, to persuade, but rarely to receive. To listen deeply, you must unlearn the habits of distraction. You must train your mind to stay with the other person's reality, even if it doesn't match your own. Especially when it doesn't match your own. That's where growth begins. Listening is not agreement, it's understanding. And understanding someone doesn't weaken your values, it strengthens your empathy. To improve your ability to listen deeply, begin with awareness. Notice how often you interrupt. Notice how quickly you shift a conversation back to yourself. Notice how often your mind wanders while someone else is speaking. These moments aren't failures. They are signals. They show you where your focus breaks. The more aware you become, the more you can catch yourself in those moments and return to the present. That return is the training. That return is how you build emotional stamina. Over time, you'll find that you can listen longer, with more depth, and with less internal resistance. Another key to deep listening is learning to reflect without assuming. When someone finishes speaking, don't immediately offer advice. Instead, try to reflect back what you heard. Say it in your own words. Not to prove that you were listening, but to clarify and confirm. When you reflect accurately, people feel safe, they feel seen, and they open up even more. This process deepens the connection and helps both of you reach the root of the issue. What often begins as a surface complaint reveals a deeper emotional truth if you stay with it long enough. Sometimes the most important parts of a conversation happen after the person stops speaking. In that moment of quiet, their emotions are still present. Don't rush to fill the silence. Stay there, let the moment breathe. You'll be surprised how often people say the most honest things when they feel no pressure to talk. Deep listening is not about controlling the conversation. It's about creating space for the other person to unfold. This skill becomes even more important in moments of conflict. When emotions rise, people often feel unheard. Their volume goes up because their sense of safety goes down. If you respond with defensiveness or solutions too quickly, the tension grows. But if you respond with stillness, if you hold their emotion without pushing back or shutting down, something shifts. The temperature drops. The conversation opens. Listening in conflict is not about agreeing. It's about showing the other person they matter, even in disagreement. You can practice deep listening in every part of your life. With your partner, with your children, with your friends, with strangers, with yourself. Yes, even with yourself. The way you listen to others is shaped by how you listen to your own emotions. If you avoid your feelings, you will avoid theirs. If you judge yourself quickly, you'll do the same to them. But if you learn to be patient with your own inner world, you'll extend that patience to others. The world is noisy. Everyone wants to be heard, but few want to listen. If you become the person who listens, truly listens, you will stand out. Not by being loud, but by being rare. People will seek you out, not because you have all the answers, but because you give them space to find their own. And that is a powerful form of leadership. The truth is, deep listening changes both people. The speaker feels safe enough to be real. The listener becomes wiser, more grounded, more connected. It is a silent exchange, but its impact runs deep. You don't need to talk more to connect with others. You need to understand them. And understanding begins with listening, fully, deeply, patiently. This is not about perfection. You will drift. You will interrupt. You will forget, but each time you return to the present moment, you build the muscle. You become more human, more available, more attuned. And in a world that moves fast and speaks loud, that kind of presence is transformative. Chapter 3. Observe body language to unlock hidden emotions fast. Words can be chosen, edited and rehearsed, but the body speaks without planning. When someone is uncomfortable, excited, nervous, or holding something back, their posture, gestures and expressions often reveal the truth before they ever say a word. Learning to notice these silent signals can help you respond more wisely in any social setting. It gives you insight others miss. Most people look at faces but don't really see what they're showing. They hear tone but don't match it to movement. They miss the small shifts, the subtle cues, the tension behind the smile. But when you train yourself to observe body language carefully, you develop a deeper understanding of people. You see what they're really feeling, not just what they want you to believe. It starts by slowing down and paying attention. Before you can read body language clearly, you have to be fully present. If you're distracted or rushing to speak, you'll miss the moment. The truth isn't always loud. It's often found in the quiet moments, when someone's shoulders stiffen after a question, when their eye contact breaks as they answer, when they suddenly adjust their seating or cross their arms mid-conversation. These shifts aren't meaningless. They're emotional reactions the person may not even be aware of. But if you're paying close attention, they become clues. Everyone expresses themselves differently, so there's no single rule that applies to every situation. That's why it's essential to read body language in context. A person crossing their arms might simply be cold. Someone looking away could just be thinking. But if they were open and expressive a few moments ago and now suddenly withdraw, something likely changed. You have to watch for patterns. One signal might not tell you much, but several small cues over time begin to paint a fuller picture. It's not about jumping to conclusions. It's about noticing emotional shifts and staying curious about what might be happening beneath the surface. Facial expressions carry a lot of emotional weight. The eyes in particular hold more honesty than words ever could. A genuine smile involves more than the mouth. It lights up the muscles around the eyes. When someone forces a smile, it often looks tight and disconnected. Their eyes stay neutral or even tense. You can sense when it doesn't match. That mismatch is the signal. It tells you there's something more going on. The same goes for nodding or laughing. People often use these to be polite, not because they're genuinely agreeing or enjoying themselves. But if you observe closely, you'll start noticing when their responses feel automatic versus when they're truly engaged. Hands and arms can be equally revealing. When someone is relaxed, their movements tend to be open and fluid. They use gestures naturally. Their hands might move with their words, but when someone feels anxious or defensive, their hands retreat. They may fidget, touch their face, or hold something tightly. These behaviors often signal discomfort. Arms crossed over the chest, especially when sudden or sustained, can be a barrier. It's a way of closing off. It doesn't always mean rejection, but it usually means withdrawal. Again, look for patterns. Was the person open before? Did something trigger a change? Did your words prompt the shift? Posture is another powerful indicator. The way someone sits or stands can reveal how secure or vulnerable they feel. A person who is confident tends to take up more space. They stand tall, shoulders back, chin level. Someone who feels uneasy might shrink in, pull back, or tilt their head downward. If you're in a group, watch who leans in and who pulls away. These movements reveal who is engaged, who feels excluded, and who might be waiting for a safe moment to speak. Sometimes someone may even lean away from the person they feel tension with, while leaning closer to someone they trust. Mirroring is one of the clearest signs of rapport. When people feel connected, they naturally begin to mimic each other's body language. It's not conscious, it happens automatically. If you shift your posture and the other person subtly mirrors it, that usually means they feel in sync with you. But if they keep their body turned away, or their gestures stay rigid and distant, that's a signal too. It suggests a lack of comfort or openness. Recognizing this can help you adjust your approach, slow the pace, or invite more space for connection. It's important not to become coldly analytical. Reading body language isn't about dissecting people like puzzles. It's about becoming more tuned in to their emotional world. That means you need to approach what you observe with empathy, not judgment. If you notice someone is uncomfortable, the goal is not to expose them but to support them. Maybe you ease the conversation, shift the topic, or simply give them more space to speak. The point is not to control the outcome, but to become more skillful in how you respond to what you see. Observing others begins with observing yourself. If your body is tense, others will pick up on it. If your expression is closed, people may hold back. Your own non-verbal signals are constantly shaping how people feel around you. This is why emotional self-awareness is so crucial. When you know how your emotions show up in your body, you can regulate them better. And when you're centered, calm and open, others sense it and respond in kind. Practice is what builds this awareness. Try spending one day where you say very little in your conversations and instead focus on noticing. Watch how people walk into a room. Notice their energy before they speak. See how they sit, how their hands move, where their eyes go. After the interaction, reflect on what you observed. Were there any shifts in their body language? What might have triggered them? Over time, you'll start recognizing patterns that repeat across many different people and settings. One of the most powerful benefits of reading body language well is that it makes people feel understood, even when they haven't said much. If someone is holding back but you sense their discomfort and gently ask if something's bothering them, they may feel seen in a way they rarely do. It takes courage to notice someone's deeper emotions and kindness to meet them with care rather than pressure. This is where social intelligence becomes emotional leadership. It's not just about noticing more, it's about using what you notice to lift the moment, not manipulate it. This kind of sensitivity makes you more trustworthy. People are drawn to those who see them clearly and treat them gently. When you can identify what others feel before they explain it, they feel safer with you. And in a world where most people are too distracted to notice the emotions in front of them, your presence becomes something they remember. Mastering the ability to observe body language is not about technique. It's about presence. It's about tuning in so deeply that nothing important slips past you. It's about reading the room not to impress, but to understand, and with understanding comes connection. Not surface-level interaction, but real connection, the kind that builds trust, creates openness, and moves conversations beyond the ordinary. Chapter 4. Ask thoughtful questions to create trust with anyone. Most people speak to be heard, but few ask questions that make others feel seen. The power of a well-placed question is often underestimated, yet it's one of the most direct paths to building genuine trust. When you ask someone a question that goes beyond surface-level curiosity, you send a message that you are interested in their world, not just what they do, but how they feel, what they believe, and who they really are underneath the routine. This kind of curiosity makes people feel safe enough to open up, and safety is the foundation of trust. You cannot force someone to trust you, but you can create the conditions where trust grows naturally. Asking thoughtful questions is one of those conditions. The questions you ask shape the direction of every interaction you have. If your questions are shallow, the conversation stays small. If they're centered only around tasks or logistics, the connection stays transactional. But if you learn to ask questions that reveal emotion, meaning, or personal values, the conversation deepens. You create a space where people can be themselves without fear of being judged. You move from polite exchanges to honest connection, and this is where influence, rapport, and emotional understanding begin to take root. Asking the right question starts with the right intention. If your goal is to manipulate, impress, or fix someone, even your most polite question will feel hollow. But if your intention is to understand, to learn, or to support, your presence changes the entire tone. People can feel when your attention is sincere. They notice when you ask because you care, not because you want something in return. That sincerity breaks down walls. It tells them you're not rushing to speak, you're choosing to listen. And in a world where everyone is in a hurry to be understood, being the one who seeks to understand is rare and powerful. One of the best habits you can build is slowing down enough to ask, "How are you really doing?" and waiting for the full answer. Don't fill the silence. Don't rush to relate. Just listen. Often the truth comes after the pause. The first answer is usually polite. The second, if you wait long enough, starts to reveal something more real. And when someone shares something vulnerable, even slightly, they are offering you a small piece of trust. Handle it with care. Don't rush to solve it. Just acknowledge it. That kind of response tells them it's okay to be human around you. That's what trust feels like. Avoid turning questions into traps. Questions like, "Why did you do that?" or "What were you thinking?" carry judgment. They put people on the defensive. Instead, shift your language to invite reflection, not blame. Ask, "What led you to that decision?" or "How did that feel for you?" These kinds of questions show respect for the person's experience. They create space for honest dialogue instead of shutting it down. When people feel they won't be punished for their truth, they're more likely to share it. Be specific. Asking "How was your day?" is polite, but vague. Asking "What was the best part of your day today?" or "Was there a moment that challenged you?" encourages more meaningful responses. Specific questions show that you're not just going through the motions, you're genuinely present, and you want to go deeper than routine answers. And if someone pauses to think, don't interrupt. Let them search for the words. Trust builds when people don't feel rushed or steered. They feel invited. Don't be afraid to ask questions that explore values, goals, or emotions. These topics often sit just below the surface, waiting for someone brave enough to ask. You might ask, "What's something you're proud of that most people don't know?" Or "What's been weighing on your mind lately?" Or "What's something you've always wanted to do but haven't started yet?" These kinds of questions can shift the entire direction of a relationship. They reveal what matters most to someone. And once you know what matters, you can relate with more honesty and intention. A thoughtful question often does more than spark a good conversation. It can help someone discover something about themselves. Many people carry thoughts they've never said out loud. When someone asks them the right question, it brings clarity. It makes something internal become real. And the person who asked the question becomes someone they remember, not because of brilliance, but because of presence. That's what asking the right question does. It tells the other person, "I see you," and it invites them to see themselves more clearly too. When someone shares something personal with you, how you respond matters just as much as the question you asked. Don't rush to make it about you. Avoid giving quick advice. The goal is not to fix, it's to connect. Respond with presence. Acknowledge what they said. Reflect a part of it back to show that you heard. Ask a follow-up question that gently explores what they just shared. That's how you show someone their words matter. That's how you prove you're not just listening to speak, but to understand. Over time, these kinds of questions create a reputation. People begin to see you as someone who gets it. They talk to you because they feel better afterward. They trust you because you don't use their answers against them. You become someone who doesn't need to speak the loudest to be respected. You listen with intention. You speak with care. And because of that, people naturally open up to you in ways they rarely do with others. In conflict or tension, questions can either escalate or diffuse the situation. A poorly timed or loaded question can make someone feel attacked, but a calm, honest question can help someone reflect. Instead of saying, "Why are you overreacting?" you might ask, "What's making this feel so intense right now?" That shift in tone invites a conversation, not a confrontation. The right question can turn defensiveness into dialogue. It can turn frustration into understanding, but only if it comes from a place of humility and patience. Trust is fragile, but it's not complicated. It grows through small moments of consistency. It builds when someone realizes they can be real with you without fear. And asking thoughtful questions is one of the simplest ways to prove that. You don't need a script or a strategy. You just need to care enough to be curious. You need to stay long enough in the silence to hear what's not being said. You need to value what the other person is experiencing as much as what you're trying to express. If you want deeper connections, Don't try harder to impress, ask better questions. Look for what makes the other person light up. Listen for what's weighing them down. Stay present even when it's uncomfortable. And ask questions not to lead, but to learn. That's how trust is built. That's how you move from interaction to understanding. And that's how you become someone who people open up to, not because they have to, but because they want to. Chapter 5. Respond calmly to stay in control under pressure. In moments of pressure, the real test isn't what you know, it's how well you can hold yourself together. Control doesn't come from dominating others or forcing outcomes. It comes from managing your own emotions with discipline and clarity, especially when the room feels tense or the conversation starts to tilt toward chaos. When everyone else is reacting, the person who can respond with calm becomes the anchor. Calm is not weakness. It's power restrained. It's the kind of power that doesn't need to shout, rush, or prove. It just stands still while everything else moves around it. The ability to respond instead of react begins with your breathing. When stress spikes, your breath often becomes shallow without you realizing it. This tightens your chest, clouds your judgment, and feeds urgency. But if you train yourself to notice the breath first, you interrupt the cycle before it takes over. A slow, steady breath signals your body that you're safe, even when your environment feels unsafe. From that single decision, one breath, you open up a gap between stimulus and response. In that space, clarity enters. In that space, you regain your footing. Pressure reveals what your habits really are. If your habit is to speak quickly when you're uncomfortable, you'll interrupt. If your habit is to defend when criticized, you'll escalate. But if you've built the habit of pausing, of staying grounded when things heat up, you'll see options where others only see threats. The pause is powerful because it gives you a chance to ask yourself, what is the outcome I want? Instead of being driven by emotion, it gives you a moment to think, is what I'm about to say necessary, or is it just noise? That kind of self-awareness is rare, but it's what keeps relationships intact and reputations solid. Sometimes the best response under pressure is no response at all. Silence, used with wisdom, can communicate strength. It gives others the space to reflect. It diffuses tension that might otherwise spiral. When you don't react instantly, you show that you are not at the mercy of every trigger. You are choosing to act with discipline, and in doing so you shift the emotional tone. Others may not always notice it immediately, but over time they learn that your presence brings steadiness, not volatility. A calm demeanor doesn't mean you're detached. It means you've trained yourself not to let emotion take the wheel. You feel the same frustration, disappointment, or urgency that others do, but you've chosen to respond from your values, not your moods. Responding calmly isn't about bottling things up. It's about holding emotion in your hands long enough to understand it before releasing it. You might still speak firmly. You might still draw boundaries, but you do it with control, not with anger. And that makes all the difference. When someone attacks your character or criticizes your work unfairly, it's tempting to defend yourself immediately. But that's often when people say things they later regret. A better approach is to slow everything down. Let the other person finish. Take a breath, then respond with clarity, not emotion. You might say, I hear your concern. I'd like to understand more before I respond. That alone can shift the dynamic. It shows that you're not here to win a fight. You're here to solve a problem, and that earns respect. In situations where people are emotional, aggressive, or unpredictable, your calm response becomes a stabilizing force. If someone is yelling or complaining, matching their energy usually makes things worse. But if you lower your voice, speak slowly, and keep your posture open, you change the energy in the room. People subconsciously start to mirror that calm, not because you told them to, but because you modeled it. That's the kind of influence that lasts, not loud, not forceful, but deeply felt. Control under pressure often comes down to preparation. When you've practiced mental discipline daily, high-stress moments don't catch you off guard. You've already built the muscle of composure. This means staying calm isn't something you perform, it's something you've become. Through small daily acts like reflection, journaling, or mindful silence, you train your nervous system to stay balanced. That inner stillness becomes your greatest strength in a loud and reactive world. You don't need to respond to everything. Not every comment needs correction. Not every insult needs a comeback. Some things lose power when you refuse to feed them. That's not avoidance, it's mastery. You learn to conserve your energy for what actually matters. You learn to pick your battles, not out of fear but out of purpose. And when you do choose to speak, your words carry weight because you didn't waste them on noise. Staying in control means you understand the difference between urgency and importance. Many people confuse the two. They rush to react to whatever is loudest, thinking that speed equals effectiveness. But speed without strategy is chaos. When you slow down and focus on what truly matters in that moment, your response becomes intentional. You stop chasing control and start creating it. That shift in perspective allows you to navigate difficult conversations, unexpected news, or public pressure with a clear mind. Every time you respond calmly, when it would have been easier to explode, you strengthen your identity. You prove to yourself that you're not ruled by impulse. You build the kind of self-respect that doesn't need external validation. Others may not always understand it in the moment, but they'll feel it. They'll notice that you're the one who stays composed when things fall apart, and in time they'll trust you more because of it. Control is not about being emotionless. It's about choosing which emotion leads. Anger might flash through your body. Fear might knock at the door, but you don't have to invite them in. You can acknowledge them without acting on them. You can feel them without letting them steer the moment. That's what emotional intelligence looks like in action. Not denying how you feel, but responding from a place of strength, not reactivity. Staying calm under pressure isn't a personality trait, it's a skill, one that's built through daily practice, honest reflection, and consistent effort. It's in how you start your day, how you manage your inner dialogue, how you respond when someone cuts you off in traffic. It's not about waiting for the big moment to be composed. It's about becoming the kind of person who lives composed, so that when the pressure does rise, you don't have to find your strength. It's already there. Chapter 6. Read social cues to navigate every situation clearly. Every interaction you enter carries a silent language. People communicate far more through tone, posture, micro-expressions, and pauses than they do with their words. The unspoken elements of communication are often the most revealing, but they're only visible to those who know how to observe without rushing to judgment. When you learn to read social cues, you gain access to a deeper layer of understanding, one that allows you to see the emotional temperature of a room before you speak, sense tension before it erupts, and adapt your behavior with precision and intention. Most misunderstandings don't happen because people aren't speaking clearly. They happen because the signals being sent are not being fully received. Someone might say they're fine, while their clenched jaw says otherwise. Another might laugh, but their eyes reveal discomfort. These contradictions are not accidental. They are clues that reveal what's really going on beneath the surface. The ability to recognize these subtle signals is not about being clever or manipulative. It's about being attuned. When you pay attention, you begin to notice the rhythm of people's behavior, how their energy shifts, how their body opens up or closes off, how they respond to silence, how they mirror or avoid eye contact. All of it means something, and when you can see it, you make decisions from a place of clarity. To read a situation well, you must slow down. The faster you move, the more you miss. People who are always trying to fill silence, dominate the room, or speak without observing, lose access to important information. Slowing down doesn't mean being passive, it means being intentional. You watch how someone greets you. Do they lean in or hold back? You pay attention to where they look when they talk. You notice when their voice tightens or trails off. These small changes are signals. When you train yourself to notice them, you stop making assumptions and start seeing the truth of what's being communicated. Emotional awareness doesn't come from guessing, it comes from noticing patterns. A person who avoids eye contact when discussing a particular topic may be signaling discomfort. A sudden shift in posture during a conversation might reveal a trigger point. When you notice these shifts without reacting impulsively, you give yourself the ability to respond wisely. Instead of pushing forward, you might pause. Instead of confronting, you might inquire. This responsiveness builds trust because it shows the other person that you're listening not just with your ears but with your presence. Social cues are everywhere, in meetings, in family gatherings, in passing interactions at the store. The challenge is not that they're hard to find, it's that most people are too distracted or self-focused to see them. When your mind is busy preparing your next sentence or replaying a previous mistake, you miss what's right in front of you. But when you center yourself, silence the noise in your mind, and tune in fully, you start to notice what others overlook. You begin to sense when someone needs space, when they're open to connection, or when something they're not saying is weighing heavily on them. That awareness gives you the advantage, not to manipulate, but to navigate wisely. A major part of reading social cues is learning to interpret context. The same gesture can mean different things depending on the situation. Crossed arms might indicate defensiveness in one setting, or simply comfort in another. Silence might mean reflection or discomfort. Understanding context means asking yourself, what's happening around this moment? What might this person be feeling based on what just occurred? It's not about overanalyzing, it's about grounding your perception in reality. The more experience you gain in diverse social settings, the more accurate your instincts become. Reacting without reading the room is one of the fastest ways to lose trust. If you barge into a conversation with too much enthusiasm when the energy is low, you may come off as tone-deaf. If you make a joke when someone is emotionally withdrawn, it could deepen the divide. But when you take a moment to assess before you act, your words and behavior land with greater accuracy. You align with the emotional rhythm of the moment, and that makes others feel seen and respected. Social navigation isn't about being perfect, it's about being present. You will misread cues at times. That's part of the process. What matters is your willingness to course correct. If you sense that your comment didn't land well, acknowledge it. If someone pulls away, give them space and come back with sincerity later. The goal is not to control the dynamic, but to stay aware enough to move with it, not against it. This kind of social agility is what makes relationships sustainable, whether they're personal or professional. When you read cues effectively, you also protect yourself. You sense when someone's kindness is genuine versus performative. You pick up on passive aggression instead of taking every word at face value. This discernment allows you to navigate toxic environments with less damage. You no longer waste energy on people who are not emotionally honest. You stop trying to force connection where there is no openness. You conserve your emotional resources and give them where they're received with respect. Sometimes, the most important social cue is the one your gut picks up on before your mind catches up. You walk into a room and feel tension. You shake someone's hand and something feels off. You can't explain it in the moment, but your body senses it. Don't ignore those signals. They are part of your awareness. They may not always give you the full story, but they alert you to look deeper. Over time, the more you trust your observations, the sharper your perception becomes. Being socially intelligent doesn't mean trying to be liked by everyone. It means understanding people well enough to choose your response wisely. Some situations call for assertiveness, others for compassion. Some moments require silence, others require honesty. When you understand what others are signaling, you can give them what they need, or protect yourself when necessary. You stop guessing and start connecting. Mastery in reading social cues is built through practice. It grows each time you walk into a conversation with curiosity rather than assumption. It sharpens each time you observe without interrupting. It deepens each time you ask yourself, what's not being said here? Instead of rushing to speak or take control, you begin to listen with your whole being. And when you do speak, your words are grounded, thoughtful, and aligned with the emotional reality of the moment. With time, people will begin to notice that you're different. They'll feel more comfortable around you, even if they can't explain why. They'll trust you with more, open up more freely, and respect your insight, not because you said more, but because you saw more. In a world filled with noise, your ability to quietly understand others becomes a rare and powerful gift. You don't need to announce it. You simply become someone others naturally look to, not because you have all the answers, but because you always seem to understand the question behind the words. Chapter 7. Speak with clarity to influence others with purpose. Influence begins with how clearly your words reflect your intention. When you speak with clarity, you eliminate confusion and guide others with purpose. Clarity is not about using big words or complicated phrases. It's about saying what you mean in a way that lands with precision. Most people use more words than necessary, cluttering the message, diluting the impact. But clarity cuts through the noise. It brings confidence, trust, and direction. People follow those who can express themselves in a way that leaves no doubt. In every conversation, there is a choice: speak to impress or speak to connect. The former might earn attention temporarily, but the latter creates lasting influence. Speaking clearly doesn't mean always having the right answer. It means having the courage to be straightforward, the discipline to be concise, and the wisdom to match your tone to the moment. When you say only what's needed, and say it in a way that others can immediately understand, your words gain strength. The foundation of clear speech is clarity of thought. If you don't know what you believe, your words will wander. If your message is tangled in uncertainty, listeners will sense it. Before you speak, you must first understand your own perspective. This takes discipline, asking yourself, what am I really trying to say? What matters most here? Only then can your language reflect conviction. People are drawn to those who communicate with intention because it gives them direction in a world that often feels scattered. Purposeful communication also means considering how your words land on others. Not just what you say, but how you say it. You can deliver truth gently or harshly. You can offer insight with humility or arrogance. Your tone carries emotion. Your rhythm builds or breaks trust. Your pauses allow space or signal discomfort. Speaking clearly means taking responsibility for the entire message, not just the content, but the feeling behind it. When you speak with purpose, you make every word count. You avoid exaggeration. You choose words that match the reality of the situation. Instead of saying always or never, you speak in specifics. You stop hiding behind vague language and instead express your thoughts in ways that others can follow and engage with. This brings people closer to your ideas because they can finally see what you see. They're not guessing, they're understanding. A powerful communicator doesn't rush. They know that silence, when used wisely, can speak louder than noise. A pause before a key message gives it weight. A moment of silence after a difficult truth allows it to land. Speaking with clarity isn't about being fast, it's about being effective. You don't flood the conversation. You direct it. You don't aim to dominate. You aim to be understood. And in doing so you gain the kind of respect that isn't demanded, it's earned. Clarity also means being honest. Not brutal, not insensitive, but honest. People trust those who don't sugarcoat reality yet still manage to speak with compassion. They respect the ones who tell the truth in a way that preserves dignity. When you choose honesty without cruelty, your words carry integrity. Others begin to listen not because they have to, but because they want to. Your voice becomes one they turn to when they need guidance. Influence grows when your message is tied to value. If your words bring insight, direction, or peace, people remember you. But if your speech is full of noise, complaints, confusion, self-interest, your presence fades. When you speak clearly, others don't have to work to understand you. They feel relieved because communication becomes easier, not harder. You give them certainty in a moment that might otherwise feel uncertain. Part of speaking clearly is knowing your audience. Not every word should be spoken the same way to every person. You don't adjust your integrity, you adjust your delivery. With a child, you simplify. With a team, you align. With a friend in pain, you soften. When you speak with clarity, you remain true to your message while choosing the most effective way to share it. This balance between consistency and flexibility makes you an influential presence in any room. Clear communication also builds internal peace. You stop over-explaining. You stop second-guessing. You say what needs to be said and move forward. This gives you the ability to live with intention. You're no longer trapped in circular conversations or weighed down by misunderstandings. You carry fewer regrets because you've learned to say what matters before it's too late. You bring order to your relationships because your words are aligned with your values. In high-pressure situations, clarity becomes even more powerful. When emotions run high and chaos threatens to take over, the one who speaks calmly and clearly becomes the anchor. You don't have to raise your voice to lead. You don't need to out-talk others to earn attention. Your presence speaks through your consistency. Your tone brings calm, your message brings direction, and your delivery commands trust. In this way, clear speech becomes a form of quiet strength. Clarity requires courage. It's easier to hide behind vague words or say what others want to hear. But clarity demands that you speak what you truly mean, even when it feels uncomfortable. This doesn't mean being confrontational, it means being transparent. When you express your needs, set your expectations, and communicate your limits with clarity, you protect your peace. You stop waiting for others to read your mind. You give them the information they need to relate to you truthfully. To speak with clarity, you must listen with care. If you want your message to resonate, you must understand where the other person is coming from. You don't speak in a vacuum. You speak into a relationship, into a moment, into a context. When you listen first, you earn the right to speak into that space with impact. Your words are no longer generic, they're relevant, and relevance is one of the most powerful tools of influence. Speak clearly not to sound smart, but to serve. The purpose of communication is connection, not performance. When you let go of the need to impress and focus instead on the need to be understood, everything changes. You become more relatable. You draw people in. You invite them to engage with you rather than feel pushed away. This is the kind of influence that builds teams, strengthens families, and changes lives. In every conversation, you're building something. You're either building understanding or confusion, trust or tension, clarity or doubt. Every word contributes to that structure. So speak like someone who is constructing something meaningful. Choose your words like someone who understands their weight. Deliver them like someone who knows they matter. When you speak with clarity, you leave no room for misunderstanding and no need for translation. You speak and people understand, not just your words, but your purpose behind them. Chapter 8. Set personal boundaries to protect your mental peace. Protecting your mental peace begins with a simple decision to define where you end and where others begin. It's not about pushing people away or creating distance for the sake of it. It's about choosing what you allow into your space, what you tolerate, and what you won't carry anymore. When you live without boundaries, you invite confusion, exhaustion, and silent resentment. You find yourself constantly managing other people's emotions, expectations, and chaos, while your own needs are left unmet. Eventually, your energy drains and your sense of self becomes blurry. That's when peace slips through your fingers. But when you set boundaries with clarity and firmness, you restore control over your life. You stop apologizing for protecting what keeps you well. Boundaries are not selfish, they are essential. They tell the world how to treat you. And when you set them with conviction, you give others a chance to relate to you in a healthy way. Without boundaries, people can't know your limits. They'll step over them, not always out of malice, but because you haven't made those limits visible. If you don't define your lines, someone else will define them for you, and you'll live by standards that don't reflect your truth. It's not always easy to set boundaries, especially if you've spent years ignoring your own discomfort for the sake of harmony. You may have been taught to prioritize politeness over honesty, or to stay quiet instead of speaking up when something felt wrong. But the cost of silence is heavy. It weighs down your joy. It clouds your relationships. It makes you feel invisible in your own life. When you begin setting boundaries, you're not rejecting people, you're choosing to value your peace above their expectations. There's strength in being able to say no without guilt. Not every invitation deserves your time. Not every conflict needs your energy. Not every request is yours to fulfill. When you say no with clarity, you say yes to your well-being. That's not avoidance, that's wisdom. You're not walking away from responsibility. You're walking towards self-respect. And the more you honor your own needs, the more you attract people who respect them too. You can't be everything to everyone. When you try, you slowly become nothing to yourself. People-pleasing may feel like kindness, but when it comes at the expense of your peace, it becomes a form of self-abandonment. Boundaries help you stop betraying yourself in the name of being liked. They remind you that your needs matter. They teach you that your time, your energy, and your attention are resources. Not everyone is entitled to them. Setting boundaries doesn't require anger. It doesn't have to be loud, harsh, or defensive. True boundaries come from calm confidence. You don't have to explain or justify. You just state your truth clearly and consistently. And when people push back, as some will, you stay grounded. You remind yourself that the discomfort of enforcing a boundary is temporary, but the damage of neglecting it lasts far longer. Some people won't like your boundaries because they benefited from your lack of them. That's not your problem to solve. It's their adjustment to make. You're not responsible for their disappointment. You're responsible for your own mental health. And if someone truly values you, they'll learn to adapt. They'll respect your limits instead of testing them. They'll meet you where you are, not where it's convenient for them. Boundaries also help you choose your priorities. When you know what you're protecting, decisions become easier. You stop saying yes out of fear and start saying yes from alignment. You begin to schedule your time around what nourishes you, not what drains you. You surround yourself with people who uplift, not those who expect you to shrink to keep the peace. Your environment becomes an extension of your values, not a battleground of constant compromise. There's a quiet freedom in living with strong boundaries. You no longer live in reaction mode. You stop feeling like life is something that happens to you and start feeling like something you're shaping. You create space to rest, to think, to grow. You no longer need to over-explain yourself. You no longer fear disapproval. Your identity becomes rooted in your choices, not in your ability to keep everyone happy. Setting boundaries also deepens your relationships. It might sound counterintuitive, but distance doesn't always create disconnection. It creates clarity. It helps both you and others see what's healthy, what's fair, and what's sustainable. When people know where you stand, they know how to stand with you. There's no guessing. There's no pretending. And if they can't accept your limits, you learn something important about their role in your life. You teach people how to treat you by what you allow, what you stop, and what you reinforce. When you tolerate repeated disrespect or dismissive behavior, you send the message that it's okay. But when you calmly step back or speak up, you shift the dynamic. You reclaim your voice. You make it clear that your peace is not negotiable. You don't have to argue to do this. Your actions speak. Your consistency speaks. Your refusal to betray yourself speaks louder than any explanation ever could. Boundaries also help you see your own patterns more clearly. You begin to notice where you overextend, where you ignore red flags, where you abandon your own feelings for the sake of comfort. You learn to pause before reacting. You ask yourself, is this mine to carry? You stop absorbing other people's stress. You begin to feel the difference between being supportive and being sacrificed. Protecting your peace is not a one-time act. It's a daily choice. There will be moments when you're tempted to revert, to fall back into old patterns of saying yes when you mean no, of staying silent when you're hurting. But the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Your nervous system begins to feel safe in the presence of truth. You stop flinching at your own boundaries. You learn that the discomfort of growth is far better than the quiet suffering of staying small. Peace is not found in the absence of others. It's found in your ability to remain yourself in their presence. And boundaries are the guardrails that keep you from losing yourself. They give you the strength to show up fully, without resentment or regret. They remind you that it's not your job to manage other people's reactions. It's your job to live in alignment with what keeps you mentally and emotionally whole. Every time you set a boundary, you tell yourself, I matter. You reinforce your self-worth. You make your inner world a priority instead of an afterthought. You stop waiting for others to treat you better and start treating yourself with the respect you've always deserved. And in doing so, you become the kind of person who moves through life, not with fear, but with clarity. Not with guilt, but with grace. Not with exhaustion, but with peace. Chapter 9. Practice empathy to connect with others authentically. Reflection is the quiet, powerful tool that turns everyday experiences into lessons for growth. It is more than just thinking back on what happened. It is a deliberate act of examining your interactions, emotions and reactions to gain clarity and insight. When practiced daily, reflection sharpens your social awareness, allowing you to navigate relationships with greater ease and understanding. This habit transforms routine encounters into opportunities for improvement, making each day a step forward in mastering the art of connecting with others. To reflect effectively, it begins with pausing at the end of your day to revisit your social experiences without judgment. Instead of rushing to conclusions or brushing things aside, commit to honestly reviewing how you engaged with people. What moments felt natural and fluid? When did misunderstandings arise? Which conversations left you feeling connected and which caused discomfort? These questions open a window into patterns that often go unnoticed amid the busyness of life. Reflection cultivates awareness of your own behavior. Often we repeat habits that undermine communication without realizing it. Perhaps you notice a tendency to interrupt, to dismiss others' feelings, or to avoid difficult topics. Becoming conscious of these patterns is the first step toward change. It requires honesty and courage to admit where improvements are needed, but this self-awareness is the foundation of social intelligence. Without it, growth remains stalled. Beyond observing your own actions, reflecting daily enhances your ability to read others more accurately. By recalling interactions, you can piece together subtle cues that you might have missed in the moment, the hesitation in someone's voice, a fleeting look of discomfort, or an unexpected silence. These details, when noticed over time, build a richer understanding of how people communicate beyond words. This heightened sensitivity equips you to respond with greater empathy and tact in future encounters. The process of reflection is strengthened by asking precise questions. Instead of vague evaluations like, "How did I do?" focus on specifics. What did I learn about this person's needs or feelings? Did I listen attentively, or was I distracted? Was my response helpful, or did it escalate tension? These pointed inquiries guide your mind toward meaningful insights rather than surface-level judgments. They encourage you to identify what worked well and what can be refined. Reflection also includes assessing your emotional responses. Strong emotions often cloud judgment and interfere with clear communication. By revisiting these moments in calmness, you gain perspective on why you reacted as you did. Were you feeling defensive? Did past experiences influence your feelings? Understanding the root of your emotions empowers you to regulate them better next time, maintaining composure and clarity during social exchanges. Making reflection a daily practice builds discipline. Like any skill, social awareness strengthens with consistent effort. Setting aside even 10 minutes each evening to quietly review your day fosters a habit that rewires your brain for greater mindfulness. This small investment of time yields a profound return: improved relationships, reduced conflict, and deeper connection. The key is persistence, as transformation rarely happens overnight, but through steady, intentional practice. Journaling is a powerful tool to deepen reflection. Writing down your thoughts helps organize feelings and observations that might otherwise remain vague. When you record what transpired and your reactions, you create a tangible record of your social growth. Over weeks and months, this journal becomes a mirror reflecting your progress and revealing recurring themes that require attention. The act of writing slows the mind, allowing insights to emerge naturally. Another vital aspect of reflection is humility. Acknowledge that social intelligence is a lifelong journey, and perfection is neither realistic nor necessary. Mistakes and misunderstandings are inevitable, but they are also valuable teachers. Embracing this mindset transforms setbacks into opportunities rather than failures. When you view every interaction as a chance to learn, you release the pressure to be flawless and open yourself to genuine improvement. Reflection invites curiosity rather than criticism. Approach your social experiences with the intention to understand rather than to judge. This shift in perspective fosters patience and kindness toward yourself and others. You begin to see complexities rather than black and white outcomes, recognizing that communication is nuanced and influenced by countless factors. This broader view enhances your ability to adapt and respond thoughtfully. Sharing reflections with a trusted friend, mentor, or coach can amplify growth. Discussing your insights with someone who offers constructive feedback creates accountability and fresh perspectives. Others can highlight blind spots or affirm progress you might overlook. This dialogue enriches your reflection, making it more dynamic and actionable. It also models vulnerability and openness, reinforcing social bonds through shared exploration. Reflection is not only backward-looking, but also forward-thinking. As you learn from past interactions, set intentions for how you want to show up tomorrow. Define clear goals for improving your listening, patience, or assertiveness. These intentions guide your behavior and keep you focused on continuous development. By combining reflection with purposeful planning, you turn insight into practical change. Daily reflection builds resilience. Social interactions are unpredictable, and challenges will arise. The habit of reviewing and learning equips you to bounce back from misunderstandings or conflicts more quickly. You become less reactive and more strategic, able to maintain your composure and navigate difficulties with grace. This resilience strengthens your relationships and your own sense of peace. The impact of daily reflection reaches beyond individual conversations. It enhances your overall emotional intelligence, sharpening self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. These interconnected abilities create a foundation for success in both personal and professional spheres. You become more adaptable, persuasive, and supportive, qualities that inspire trust and respect. Reflection also deepens your sense of purpose in social interactions. Instead of drifting through conversations passively, you engage with intention and clarity. You understand that every connection is an opportunity to build trust, share kindness, and influence positively. This awareness elevates your presence, making your interactions more meaningful and fulfilling. The practice encourages mindfulness, the art of being fully present. When you reflect regularly, you cultivate a habit of paying attention not just after the fact, but also during interactions. This awareness helps you catch yourself when distracted or disengaged, allowing you to course correct in real time. Mindfulness enhances the quality of your connections, fostering genuine rapport and mutual understanding. Ultimately, daily reflection is a commitment to self-mastery. It aligns with the Stoic principle of examining one's life to grow in wisdom and virtue. By consistently scrutinizing your social behavior and mindset, you sharpen your character and deepen your relationships. You become the master of your social world rather than a passive participant, steering your life with intention and insight. In this pursuit, patience is essential. Social intelligence is not a destination, but an evolving process. Each day's reflection adds a brick to the foundation of your growth. Over time, these small, deliberate steps accumulate into profound transformation. Your ability to read people, respond wisely, and build meaningful connections expands, enriching every aspect of your life. Reflection, when practiced faithfully, becomes a powerful ally. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary, revealing lessons hidden in plain sight. It guides you to better understand yourself and others, creating harmony and confidence in your social interactions. This quiet habit, nurtured daily, unlocks the full potential of your social intelligence and leads to lasting success. Chapter 10. Reflect daily to improve your social awareness fast. Reflection is one of the most underrated skills we can develop to deepen our understanding of ourselves and others. When done consistently, it accelerates social awareness and sharpens emotional intelligence in ways that feel almost effortless over time. It doesn't require special tools or complicated methods, just the willingness to pause and look inward regularly. The power lies in turning everyday social interactions into lessons for growth, making the subtle art of connecting with others clearer and more natural. Every day offers countless moments that shape how we relate to those around us, but many pass unnoticed because we don't take time to review them consciously. Reflection calls for a deliberate slowing down, creating a space to revisit what happened, how it felt, and what could be done differently next time. This practice reveals patterns in behavior that often escape our attention in the rush of daily life. By identifying these trends, we begin to recognize the impact of our actions and choices on relationships, and that awareness is a crucial step toward improvement. This habit opens the door to honest self-examination. We learn to recognize when we may have reacted impulsively or failed to listen fully. It shines light on moments when misunderstandings arose, not because of others, but because of our own blind spots. Realizing these nuances fosters a sense of responsibility for our role in social exchanges. It encourages humility, reminding us that growth requires admitting we don't always get it right and being willing to adjust. An essential part of reflection involves tuning into the emotions that surface during interactions. Emotions can cloud judgment or provide valuable signals. By reviewing what we felt, whether frustration, excitement, anxiety, or joy, we gain insight into how feelings influence our communication style. This awareness helps us manage emotional reactions more skillfully going forward, preventing missteps caused by unchecked impulses. Reflection also improves how we interpret others. Social cues like tone, gestures, and facial expressions may initially seem confusing or easy to overlook. But when we intentionally revisit conversations, we notice these signals with greater clarity. This process builds empathy as we begin to understand people's unspoken feelings and needs. Over time, our capacity to read social dynamics strengthens, making interactions smoother and more meaningful. The value of reflection multiplies when paired with focused questions. Instead of simply thinking, "How did I do today?" ask, "Where did I truly listen?" or "When did I lose patience?" Specificity guides the mind to uncover actionable insights rather than vague feelings. This sharpens your ability to learn from experience and prepares you to respond differently in similar future situations. Keeping a journal enhances this process significantly. Writing down observations, emotions, and lessons cements them in your memory and makes abstract reflections concrete. It also tracks your progress, revealing shifts in awareness and behavior that might be invisible day to day. A journal becomes a personal coach, encouraging continuous refinement of social skills through regular feedback. Daily reflection fosters greater mindfulness during real-time interactions. When the habit of reviewing past encounters becomes routine, it influences how you engage in the moment. You become more present and attentive, catching yourself if distracted or reactive. This mindfulness improves your ability to listen deeply, respond thoughtfully, and stay calm under pressure. The ripple effects of this practice extend far beyond individual conversations. Social awareness developed through reflection enhances confidence and authenticity. You stop second-guessing your words or actions and trust your intuition more. This clarity inspires others to open up and connect, creating a positive cycle of genuine communication. Reflection also strengthens resilience in social settings. Interactions do not always go smoothly. Misunderstandings, disagreements, and awkward moments are part of human connection. By reviewing these challenges calmly and constructively, you build the emotional stamina to handle future difficulties with grace. This resilience reduces anxiety and helps maintain mental peace, even in tense situations. One of the most profound benefits is the transformation in how you view relationships overall. Reflection shifts focus from merely exchanging words to cultivating meaningful bonds. You begin to appreciate the complexity of human behavior and the effort it takes to connect authentically. This broader perspective enriches your social life, turning routine interactions into opportunities for growth and understanding. Regular reflection requires commitment, but can be simple and quick. Even 5 to 10 minutes each day is enough to spark significant change. It can be done mentally before sleep, during a quiet walk, or through written notes. The key is consistency. Small, daily efforts compound, leading to deepened insight and more effective communication over weeks and months. Humility remains central throughout this journey. Recognize that social awareness is not a destination, but an ongoing process. Each reflection reveals new layers of understanding, and perfection is not the goal. Instead, aim for progress and kindness toward yourself. Celebrate improvements, learn from mistakes, and stay curious about your growth. Sharing reflections with a trusted confidant can deepen the process. Discussing insights and challenges with someone supportive offers fresh viewpoints and encouragement. It also models vulnerability and openness, strengthening bonds through shared exploration. This collaborative approach accelerates learning and fosters accountability. Reflection sharpens decision-making in social contexts. As your awareness grows, you become better at choosing how to respond rather than react automatically. You develop intuition about when to speak, listen, assert, or step back. This skill enhances influence and trust, making your presence more impactful and respected. Incorporating reflection into your daily rhythm builds a foundation for emotional intelligence. It nurtures self-awareness, empathy, self-regulation, and social skills simultaneously. These interconnected strengths create a holistic approach to interpersonal success, equipping you to handle diverse social situations with confidence. Ultimately, the practice of daily reflection empowers you to take charge of your social experience. It transforms interaction from chance encounters into intentional exchanges. You become more attuned to subtle signals, more skillful in responses, and more genuine in connection. This mastery opens doors to richer relationships and greater personal fulfillment. With persistence, reflection leads to lasting transformation. Each day's review is a building block, creating a resilient, adaptable, and emotionally intelligent you. This foundation supports all aspects of life, family, friends, work, and community, enhancing your ability to thrive socially and emotionally. Reflection, practiced faithfully, becomes a compass guiding your social journey. It turns awareness into wisdom and connection into opportunity. The simple act of looking inward daily ignites a powerful cycle of growth, making you not only more socially aware, but also more compassionate, present, and authentic in every relationship you nurture.